My name is Professor Baldy, and I run a school for juvenile delinquents. You might even call them mutants. Trust a few reformed ex-cons: Tangerine, Jeannie Grey, Beastie Boy, Snowcone, and their friends from X-Files, Cable TV, Garfarel, Dominoes, and introducing the Newt Mutants. Beware the rest: Magneto, Mistress Piggy, and Cesspool. Now, Parity Press Comics is back with X-Files Reloaded #1. Don't miss this extraordinary comics extravaganza with 7 full-color stories of marvelous mutant mayhem. Back this book today for awesome variant covers and original artwork tiers. 48 pages of action and hilarious hijinks by some of comics' funniest talents. Parity Press, making the world laugh again. Only on Indiegogo.
Comics are totally awesome. And I'm totally awesome too! Whoa! Beard Zerker from Parity Press. Back it today!
This, folks, is a Warner Brothers television production.
The Bugs Bunny Show.
Overture, curtain lights, this is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it. Tonight, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
And now, that Oscar-winning rabbit, Bugs Bunny.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
The readers are so demanding. They send me these emails, they want all these things. I only have so much time. I just want to sit here and read a comic book. That's the whole reason I started this company, was to just sit here and read comics all day. Oh, these readers, they want stuff. Ugh.
Has this ever happened to you? You're trying to organize your comic books, and they explode. What a mess. Well, you're in luck. The Alterna Comics collector case is here to save the day. Keep your collection organized and in great shape. Holds up to 15 comics, bagged and boarded too. And now we've got art inserts for the front and side pocket of your collector case. Customize your case with art from some of your favorite Alterna Comics titles. Available on Indiegogo.
You still here? What are you doing? Go check out the Indiegogo already.
Got the hot job on modulator and the two-day uneven flow. Inside the time-space continuator, there's a flux mount that's set to go. This thing is vertical, retractable, reversible, submerge your boat and jam it in. And the mechanism cross the divide, multiply and just try to jam it in. Let's jam it in. Plug the main out into the AC. I've got the steam pre to heat it up. If there's a dropout inside the timepiece, then the jam scene will lock it up. I've been building it, planning it, dreaming it, planning it, jamming it. And if I pull a switch and nothing hits, I'll do it all again. Right now, I give everything I've got. Journey up here, no doubt. I believe in everything you are. Journey up here today. In the undergrid, we're getting shaky. The excitement is in the
Hey, everyone. How are you doing? Happy Saturday. It's good to be here. I am Don Chin, and I feel like I look orange today. I feel like I look like a Oompa Loompa now that I'm looking at my lighting situation. Hopefully that won't be too distracting. We've got a fun show today. I normally don't broadcast on Saturdays, but I got this huge box in the mail, and I thought, I need to do an unboxing video for Pete because he's such a good guy. I've done it with Mighty Mascots. And this is a really cool campaign that he's fulfilling right now. It's called I think it's called You Deserve Something, a break today or something, Pete, something like that. You deserve the best, something like that. He'll explain it. But Pete and I have kind of developed this online relationship, not that kind of online relationship. It's been more of a buddy-buddy relationship. And I really find him interesting because he is a true independent spirit. He's been doing this for 15 years. He's running the endurance race. He's seen the highs and lows of distribution, and now he's kind of making a go of it on his own and going directly to the consumer, which I think is a very bold move. And he's a very popular guy. I really want to appreciate letting him know that he's taking time out of his day to spend some time with us. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Pete in. And I just want to let you folks know, if you want to ask any questions of Pete, feel free to fire away in the chat. I have some that I don't think I've ever heard him answer before, so I'll try not to make him squirm too much. But we're going to go ahead and have Pete join us. Hey, Pete.
Hey, what's up, Don?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've calmed down since having a talk with my lawyers about your open mic show. They got me seeing the light.
Oh, that's good. I saw that you might have made amends with Joe.
Yeah, he's a good guy, but that might go bankrupt. I don't know about him. No way.
I don't know if I can trust that guy, but he's we'll see what he's got in store to respond to your accusations. So.
Yeah.
So Pete, are you working today?
Yeah, I'm working every day. The past 24 hours has been just nightmarish. But I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I saw you post like a guy in the midst of a fire on your Twitter. So
yeah. And that's the thing is when you're a publisher or running any business, I think no one ever tells you you're going to kind of have to learn how to be a firefighter. Put out various fires constantly. Just when you thought you put one out, another one. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, but everything is, you got to get that little sucker,
Awesome, buddy. So before I open up your box, I had some questions for you. And I know you're on a limited schedule today, so we'll try.
Did you mean to do this? Did you mean to put me on full screen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You look better than me. I mean, I
right.
said, I didn't realize I was going to look so orange today.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got to figure that out. I'll mix it up a little bit. I've got your little Alterna website at the ready as well. But Pete, can you tell us what other jobs have you worked besides? I know you mentioned when you were getting into comics, you were working like 2 or 3 jobs even while you were publishing. So what other vocations has Publishing Pete done?
I was a production artist for Barnes and Noble, and that's just a fancy way of saying poster cutter.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to go into the job to do typesetting, to actually design the poster elements, but they were like, no, start out doing the production artist position first. And I was like, okay, I have a degree in graphic design, but I'm fine with working my way up. Yeah. And then I found that they just kind of used and abused me. So I was done with that after 3 months.
Gotcha.
And I went on to doing graphic design and this was in the midst of the very early days of Alterna, because I graduated college with Alterna already in mind of moving forward with that as a publishing label for myself, not necessarily as a publishing company, just something to get out there instead of putting like SIMETI Studios or whatever, that kind of a thing. Something that sounded a little bit snazzy or a little more official.
I like it.
Yeah, people seem to like it. It's grown on me, and I have no choice at this point. So Alterna it is. So,
So happy 15th anniversary.
Thank you.
That
man.
is amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and after the Barnes & Noble production artist job, I did graphic design and web design for a camera online seller, one of the biggest in the country. They have a huge eBay presence and everything else. I don't know if they're still around. I imagine they would be, though. But I was there for maybe about 6 months or so. And every single thing was just like a means to an end to keep doing the comic stuff. And every single time I'd move from one thing to another, it would usually be because these were full-time jobs and the comic stuff was getting bigger and needed more of my attention. So then I would leave full-time jobs and then get part-time jobs. So from that, I worked into doing retail for a couple of years because it just afforded me the time to concentrate more on Alterna too. As Alterna grew, I needed that, the way that would go. So I was working at how many retailers did I work at? I worked at Blockbuster, Radio Shack. These are very early years of Alterna, and for some, it might seem like, oh, you're stepping backwards in terms of jobs. But the thing is that Alterna was growing. So I needed that time to work on Alterna more. Alterna was becoming the full-time job. And then I needed a supplemental part-time. And then when I moved away, I moved out of New York because that's where I grew up, moved to Massachusetts. And then I was a substitute teacher there for about 4 years or so. And this was probably around 2009, 2010, something like that. I can't remember anymore. And then 2013 or something, maybe. I seriously dates. It's wow, you're looking back, you're like, was that then? I guess so.
Okay.
I was a substitute teacher. I taught all the grades, 4 different districts in Massachusetts. And that really afforded me the time to even concentrate on some of my own artwork too. So when there were break periods and things like that, I could just sketch out and do some drawings, even sometimes work on commissions, and do the Alterna thing because I got home at 2:30. So then I could do the Alterna thing from the night until I slept. And so I did that for a couple of years. But then from that point on, it just became completely just doing Alterna. And I've been doing full-time Alterna now for about whatever that is, 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you do all your logos and the cover layouts and all that?
Personally, I do. I'd say probably about half of them. Some of them, they come to me and they're already done. Some of them, they come to me and I just tweak them a bit. And then some of them, there's no logo or the logo just really needs to be replaced. And then I take care of that. I do all the cover elements, though. I'm the barcode artist. The way they downgraded me at Barnes & Noble to production artist, or upgraded me, I should say. I've downgraded myself. I'm not really publisher. I'm not really web designer. I'm not an artist or a creator. I'm a barcode artist. I'm the designer. And all I do is just lay out the barcode and the rest of the title elements. And that's fun for me. I come up with the taglines most of the time for the covers. I really like doing that. It helps me to still be kind of creative with things too. And then also I'm always here for the creators whenever they want to just bounce ideas off of me about anything. I can't tell you how many creators, maybe to their... I don't know. I think they're happy about it, but who knows? Maybe they're not, right? Maybe they bit their tongue. How many creators that I've given more work to in the way of saying, hey, that character is really good, or hey, don't just end it with a one shot or a 4-issue, or maybe continue the series, that kind of a thing. And then they would go on and do such a thing. So I get a lot of creative fulfillment out of doing that and being a part of the creative process with the creators. I don't care about credit or nothing like that. Whenever I make a change or a suggestion or anything, I just want to make a really great comic and have people enjoy it.
Awesome. What was your first recollection of what book or title was the thing that kind of hooked you?
In terms of comics in general?
Yeah. Man,
I think probably as a kid, I'm pretty sure my first comic was Spider-Man. Was a Spectacular Spider-Man issue that I still have. So I guess it would have to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man is probably my favorite character too. But in terms of getting really just hooked on collecting comics and comics at large, I think it was kind of a 1-2 punch of X-Men 1 with Jim Lee and Chris Claremont. That thing was everywhere. And then also the trading cards that Marvel had out at the time. you know, the ones that had like the power stats and things like that. I really liked the series 1, but I could barely find any at the store. But I really got into it by the time series 2 came out, and it had all the ratings and stuff for the characters. So the character cards I found were a really good way to get to know a lot of different plots and storylines and all these different sorts of titles that were out there, these characters that were out there in that universe too, without necessarily having to spend a lot of money on comics, because at the time I was like probably 5 to 7 years old, whatever it may be. And my parents weren't going to be like, yeah, sure, we'll get you $50 of comics every week or whatever it would have been. You know, here's a dollar or two or whatever the pack would have been for a pack of trading cards. And then I could get a bunch of different characters. So the trading card stuff, I was really big on that as a kid. And it was like a 1-2 synergy kind of thing of the more cards I got, the more characters I learned about, and the more I wanted to go seek out those characters in the comics.
Mm-hmm. So how many comics do you have in your personal collection, if you were to guesstimate?
At one point in time, I had something between 10 to 12,000, and then I sold a lot of them when I moved from New York to Massachusetts. So I think at this point in time, I probably have about 2,000 or 3,000. Okay. Non-Alterna. If I count Alterna, it's probably closer to like 50,000. Because I'm counting inventory.
Do you have a warehouse or a?
Yeah. We've got a storage unit that we keep seeming to need to upgrade every single year or every 2 years or so. But that's because there's so many more books that come out. I want to make sure we order enough. You know, even this whole thing of going back to print with the Indiegogo, that resulted out of the fact that I didn't print enough the first time around, you know, and it was mostly because everything was so limited. We were so unsure of, well, could we sell this amount? You know, instead of going to print with 5,000 at one time, you know, we go to print with like 2. And then, you know, over 2 or 3 or 4 printings, all of a sudden now you're up to like 5,000 printed on something. But I wish I could have just done that the first time. So now I've got a big storage unit and we can get a lot of books in there. And now these new books that come out, we can actually have much higher print runs. Even though we're not going through distribution, we can still have those higher print runs. And I have way more confidence that, you know, a year or 2 or 3, we could sell through all of them. And then if we go back to print after that, that's fine. But in the beginning, it was really just, you don't know what the hell to make of it, you know, especially with the way distribution is. We introduced these single issues in 2017. We were with Diamond since 2008. So from that point, 2008 to 2017, we mostly just put out graphic novels and trades. Really very little single issues, and definitely nothing on newsprint. And that was mostly because of the fact that creators also had side jobs, full-time jobs, things like that. So a single issue schedule didn't really make a lot of sense. And I didn't feel comfortable telling them, hey, you know, I'm a new publisher, get 3 or 4 issues in the can before we put out one. That kind of seems like asking a lot of a creator to do. So it was more just like, you know what, let me be accommodating to the creator and work with their schedules and say, okay, if we just put out like 1 or 2 books a year from you as a graphic novel, you know, that's pretty feasible. It's easier for them. It's not asking as much from them too. And then, of course, as we moved on and everything else, the graphic novel market, once we got into it, it was really good. And then it started to get really just overloaded to the point that I was noticing in the book market, the return rates became, you know, 3 to 6 months to like 1 to 2 months. So graphic novels at book distribution, like at Barnes and Noble or whatever, they would just be at the store for 1 to 2 months before they would decide, you know, let's return it. You know, unless you paid for that placement, they would then return it, which is like treating a graphic novel like a periodical. It's kind of insane, especially because the price differential, the evergreen nature of graphic novels, you figured they'd have more shelf life. And they just didn't, because the market was so full of books and not enough space. You know, Barnes & Noble wasn't going to decide all of a sudden, you know what, let's expand the store and have, you know, 5 or 6 shelves for graphic novels. No, they just want to kind of keep what they got. And they'll just rotate the graphic novels out, unless, like I said, you pay for that placement and that spot to stay there, which it wouldn't make any sense for us, because we would have just lost every single cent we would have made anyway if we paid for that spot. So I decided around 2015, 2016, really start looking into becoming a single issue publisher. And I didn't want to put out books that were $4 or $5 a piece. I wanted to put out comics that were relatively affordable. And I definitely wanted to put out comics on newsprint. Comics just to me are so synonymous with newsprint. I really, at that point in time, I really missed seeing newsprint comics. I figured somebody within the 10 or so years that Alterna was around at that point would have done it at some point. And no one really was. So when I looked into it and I talked to a couple other people that point me in the right direction, they were like, yeah, you have to look for this kind of printer, but just be aware you're going to probably have to print, at least 5,000 copies across the board, which as an indie publisher, that seems really just, oh man, how are we going to do that? Because most indie publishers, it's maybe 2,000 copies on a book. So I figured, well, we can't just release one book at a time like we did with the graphic novels. We got to put out a couple at a time. So 4 to 5 is what we did. We had a lot of books that were never in single issues. So we just kind of republished a bunch of those while also sneaking in a couple of new books too. This is probably May 2017. And then the line just kept rolling and people actually really liked them. And I noticed that the conversation of, graphic novels, that's the way of the future. Digital comics, that's the way of the future. This is what people want. Our sales for single issues were 10 to 15 times higher than our graphic novel and digital sales. Digital sales, forget it, they were about like 30 times higher. But then when I looked at the industry in terms of their sales too, you'd see like issues at the top selling like 100 to 150,000, sometimes 200,000, at the other companies, the big two. And then their counterpart graphic novels would sell 10 to 15,000. So I'm just thinking like, what is all this weird talk about? Oh, the way of the future is the graphic novel. It's two very different audiences. And for the most part, the single issues, comic readers prefer them. And as long as they're good, you get a good value for it. And they're relatively affordable. They would gravitate towards single issues over getting a graphic novel. Of course, there's overspill in the middle. It's like a Venn diagram, graphic novel readers, single issue readers, and then there's some that will buy both. Sometimes even the graphic novel version, the trade version of the single issues together. But I found that all of a sudden we put the single issues out there, especially the price point and the newsprint, and they put us on the map with a lot of different readers. And that's when I also started noticing that it put us on the map in a couple different ways. In terms of starting to get targeted for some things. I think we were getting too big or something like that. And we were scaring a couple people. I know for a fact there were many retailers and a couple publishers that were saying, I don't like the fact that they're doing that. It's going to start setting a trend in the industry of these $1.50, $1.99 books, and it's going to kill the whole industry. And all I could think is at the point in time, they were like maybe half the price of most other single issues. So, if you're an indie publisher and you're selling your book in a store, if you're selling 2 or 3 copies, you're telling me that if you put the price in half, that the retailer can't find a way to sell 2 or 3 more of that issue to make the same amount of money they would have made if the price point was higher. Now you have more people than buying books. And more people buying books and becoming readers means more people becoming acclimated to the characters, the company, everything that's going on. The readers are way more valuable than the dollars. So in terms of, having readers on board and everything like that, that's way more important to me than just a couple extra bucks on half of the readers. So I didn't understand where that was coming from, that mentality. And it, lo and behold, like several years later, it's like, oh, I see what it is. It's because to you guys, it's not really about the readers. It's not really about getting books in people's hands. It's about selling to the retailer and then, whatever, they can figure it out from there. And most of the time, they unfortunately can't figure it out. There's very few retailers I found that are actually good salespeople. They're good at, setting up a shop and putting the stuff there, and that's it. But in terms of actual outreach, presence, marketing, building a newsletter, all the things that we tell on a daily basis to independent creators to how to grow their businesses and their brand, I found that a lot of retailers don't do any of that. And if anything, they expect the publishers and the creators to bring business to them. And they're very upset when that doesn't happen. And I'm thinking like, well, we give you the discount, not out of charity. We give you the discount because you're supposed to help us sell volumized sales, maximize the footprint that we can't reach directly. So it's supposed to go into your store and you could sell to a bunch of people. And that's why you get 50 to 60% off. It's not just because we're nice people and we're treating it like a charity. And here you go. Here's half off the books. You know, have a great life. It's because of the fact that you're supposed to go, hey, okay, this is the value now that I bring as a retailer. I can get people in here to buy your books. Now, lo and behold, everything that's happened, we sell direct now. We're reaching and selling to more people than we sold before through distribution. We shouldn't really be doing anything like that, but yet we are. And so many other people are too. So many other people are having much more success through selling direct than if they got their book through distribution. It shouldn't be that way, but it is.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you've seemed like you've put a lot of thought into the whole marketing, the whole price point. And that's the thing that I think really stands out with your line is that, you know, most of your books are under $5. When I got your sampler pack last year, I couldn't believe how much value you sent me for like $30 worth of my money, because I was just used to getting, you know, 4 or 5 issues at the comic book store for that, you know, bang for your buck. And I like the newsprint. I mean, the way that you have your covers laid out, it reminds me of when I used to drive, or not drive, but I used to ride my bike to the local Circle K, and they had a spinner rack, and I would buy the Marvels and the DCs of that week. And it just has this really great, you know, throwback feel to me. And I even noticed, you know, probably you did this intentionally, but a lot of your books kind of look like the old Marvel from the.
Yeah, I wanted the books, and I loved when publishers did that back in the day, when they would have the logo up top so you can easily see and identify. They would have something fun in the corner box. You know, everything was just, it just screamed comic book. And it was also very practical and very easy to find publishers and different titles as you're just looking through a bin or just looking at the new release wall. Now there's so many comics that get released that feel like they're kind of embarrassed of being a comic. Some of them don't even have the title on there. You know, a lot of them don't have any text either. And it just feels like, I don't know, part of that, it feels like some of the fun is missing. Some of that engagement right off the bat that says, here is the perfect marriage of text and image, you know, which is what a comic book is. Don't be ashamed of that. Scream it right on the cover. Let people know.
One thing that I like also, Pete, is that you are not just, I think, trying to cater to the 40-year-old, you know, comic book collector, but you have a lot of titles that seem like they're almost like what I grew up on, were like the old Harvey, Richie Rich, Gold Key and stuff. That's kind of what, when I was younger, when I was, you know, 7 or so, I would just devour these books. And you've got books like Bear and Rat, and you know, they look like they're kind of aimed towards the younger audience. Are those fairly successful for you?
Yeah, the all ages books at Alterna are truly for all ages. We have a lot of adult readers that love them too, but that's intentional because I also want people to be able to, you know, read this as an adult and recommend it to their kid or their nephew or niece or whoever it may be. And then sometimes there's even parents that really like the books too, and they enjoy them. They have like story time with comic books. And that's great. And I love the fact as well that because of the fact that we have these all ages titles, titles for young adults and teens, and then titles also that are more appropriate for mature readers, you can grow with Alterna. So you can be a child that starts off reading Mr. Crypt, Baron Rat, whatever it may be. And then you can grow into reading, you know, Mighty Mascots and Gods and Gears and stuff that's still all ages, but a little more complex, a little more intense. And then you can go into reading stuff like, you know, Downcast or T-Bird and Throttle, or it came out on a Wednesday, you know, when you're a teenager. That's more appropriate for you too at that point in time. And then when you grow up and you're, you know, we're talking about over the span of 10 years, you could have a reader going through all of this. And by that point in time, we've made so many more books too. So if they play catch up, there's so much to catch up on. And it feels like that's something again too that's also missing from comics. Everything is so compartmentalized, you know, that at Alterna some people were like, well, why don't you have like a different imprint for the mature books, the all ages books, the horror books, the this and that. It to me it waters the whole thing down and cheapens it, because it turns it into, you know, this whole, well, these are just the kiddie books and these are the books for like the mature people. You know, what does that mean? You know, there's stuff that I love that's technically, you know, aimed at kids and also aimed at adults. And there's stuff that I don't like that's the same way. But if it's all within one publishing company, all under one banner, just Alterna Comics, you know, and just let people know in the barcode area what the age is, the appropriate age. You could be a kid that's 10 or 12. Maybe you want to sneak away a Blood Realm or a Void Walker, you know? You know, you buy the Baron Rat and you kind of put that on top and you have the Void Walker inside or whatever, you know, anything. You know, kids still want to read stuff that's a little bit above their age level.
Sure.
So, you know, but if you have everything at this level of making it feel like these are just for the kids and these are just for the adults and this is just the horror and this is just the side, it just becomes ridiculous. You know, make everything Alterna Comics. And then this way, again, like I said, people can grow within the company and read these books and feel like there isn't a book or a label or whatever that's segregating a reader or anything like that. They can read whatever they want to read and it's fine. It's welcomed.
Great. Hey, Tommy asked us a question, and I think Tommy's also Tampa. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah, I want to say.
Hey, Tommy.
Yeah. Hey.
So, Tommy asked a couple questions. The first one was, what is your favorite non-Alterna indie comic these days?
My favorite non-Alterna indie comic. Oh boy, man. I guess I would have to say what? X-Farce, right?
That's a good answer. I appreciate that.
there's a whole bunch. I mean, I don't have, it's kind of like when I was a kid, when I watched like sports, like I was really into hockey and basketball when I was a kid, and I would have favorite players, you know, and favorite teams. And then it would turn into, wait, they all can like get traded and do this and do that and go here and go there. And then all of a sudden it starts becoming, you just like a lot of different things. So that's the kind of the person I became. Of course, there's diehards that are like, no, my team forever, you know, and then they leave the team and screw them. Who cares about that player? But I've always been someone that, you know, when I've never been like Marvel or DC. I like both. I like different characters from both. I like different indie comics too. So every single indie comic that I see nowadays that really speaks to me. I mean, Downcast was one of them. That's why we signed it. T-Bird and Throttle was one of them. That's why we signed it. But X-Farce was really enjoyable. Truly, honestly, it really was. She is great. From Billy Tucci, she's always been great. And Cyberfrog was actually better than I thought it would be. I kind of dug the character when I was a kid, but you know, that was like, whatever. But I actually was kind of shocked that Ethan really stepped up I think, honestly, and I think he said this before too, so it's okay. I think Cyberfrog's honestly his best looking stuff that he's ever done. But you know, I think he said that before, so I think that's okay to say.
Yeah.
And not that I don't like his other stuff, but the Cyberfrog stuff is at another level to me anyway.
Yeah, he just said,
is pretty great. What was that? Sorry.
I was gonna say he just sent out an update, updating the backers on Wreck Planet earlier this morning, and he said he's still running behind, but he showed us some of the artwork that's in progress, and I just went, you know, no wonder it's taking longer, because it's just you can just tell by the amount of detail.
Yeah. I'd lose my mind whenever he shows. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, well, why are you putting in like the amount of crazy detail that he puts in? It's staggering. But that's not how I work as an artist. I'm like the 5-minute sketch card guy. I do, you know, I block out shapes. I put a lot of like energy and loose line and stuff. And Ethan's like this painstaking, like the reflections and detail and circuitry and this. I'm like, oh my Lord, it's a totally different thing. But as far as just indie comics that I enjoyed when I was growing up reading comics in general, I enjoyed Hellblazer. And I mean, that's not necessarily 100% indie because it's Vertigo. But there was comics like, what was it? Madman was really great. Flaming Carrot, I liked. a couple from Dark Horse that I can't remember at this point in time, man. They weren't favorites, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed a lot of Valiant books when I was a kid. Magnus the Robot Fighter, Solar, Man of the Atom, a couple of different stuff like that. So it was all over the place. My comic tastes went everywhere. But like nowadays, in terms of the indie comics that speak to me, honestly, it's so much stuff that's coming out through crowdfunding. There's so many different exciting projects, and I see Ken Rocafort here. You know, Groken looks fantastic too. I can't wait to read that.
Me too. Yeah.
And look at it, I guess too. Not even just so much read it, but just even revisit it over and over again, because I'm probably going to get really distracted from the art and have to really focus on, okay, let me just actually read the story this time, because his art is fantastic. So there's so many things out there right now that just look so great. And I think indie is really where it's at in terms of just, there's so many different kinds of stories, so many different kinds of artists out there. A lot of the creators are making stories that they really want to make. And that's the kind of stuff that I gravitate towards, is not people that are, same thing with Alterna when I publish books. It's not people that are trying to jump on a trend or trying to make the most buzzworthy nowadays topical comic, but make a story they really want to make. And it doesn't matter if that story, they want to make it today or next year or whatever, because they're looking at the fact that readers are going to want to read this 10, 20, maybe 30, 50, 100 years from now. We could be dead and gone. And we should be making stories that people could still pick up and enjoy. And I think that's when you've got something special.
Amen. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Kenneth's book as well. Good to see everyone. Eric, good morning. Did you just wake up? I think Eric just woke up or something. Well, I did advertise that I'm gonna unbox your massive because you demanded it. Is that correct? That's the name of the.
That's correct.
Campaign.
Yeah.
Okay. How many of these did you? I mean, look at this, guys. This is what came to my doorstep this last week. How many of these did you personally? Do you have employees, or is it just
No,
you?
it's me. Yeah, it's just me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm taking time out of packing right now to talk to you.
This campaign, you raised like close to $40,000. Is that correct?
We raised, I think it was something really close to 45. I think it was like $6 away or something stupid like that. But yeah, we raised almost 45,000. Yeah.
Is that your best campaign?
So far, yeah. I think we'll eventually be able to surpass that. But this one was an exciting campaign to do, because we were able to unlock so many reprint issues and things like that. And that's why your bundle is now huge.
Yes,
big package.
I'm gonna set this on my lap and hope that my feet don't fall asleep on me.
Look
But
at that.
how many?
Don Chin with his huge, humongous, tremendous package. Don Chin.
How many of these do you have to personally
all of them
fulfill? I mean, are we talking like 1,000 or?
No. Well, in terms of books, I think it was like over 20,000 books. But in terms of packages, I think the one that you got, because you got the fully loaded collector case.
Correct.
I think there's like maybe 150 of those. And then in terms of just the other rewards, so far I have about maybe 150 left to ship out.
Okay.
But in general, I think it was about 500 or 600 packages. But half of the campaign was already fulfilled. And then we got this second wave of books. So that's what's being fulfilled now.
Gotcha. So Pete, have you ever had employees, or you just kind of done it all yourself?
No. I've never had employees. It's always just me doing it.
Wow, that's a lot of work. Does your family help you? I mean, do you have kids, or your wife? Do they?
Erin helps out every now and then. Yeah, when I get Erin helps out always in terms of when I'm having a meltdown. So like the past 24 hours when I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with right now, which I'm not going to get into because it's just boring and insane and stupid and very esoteric. But Erin's here to help me out. She's here to bounce ideas off, with me when I'm like, should I do this kind of a thing? Should I put this thing out? Do you think people will like it? So all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that the same thing with your wife too. It's kind of the go-to of if it's your best friend and you guys are a good team and that kind of a thing, so she does a hell of a lot, and she's been there since day one, before day one. So I guess I could blame everything on her too.
Does she read anything that either you, does she like any particular title or anything that's, being published by someone else?
She really loves the Mr. Crypt and Baron Rat stuff. She really loves that. She enjoys the Mighty Mascots characters that Keith has. She gravitates more towards our all ages books, but she also likes a lot of the different art that we have. So she likes the art of like Blood Realm and things like that. She really digs the dark fantasy stuff too.
Is Blood Realm your bestseller?
I'd say that probably, yeah, at this point, but it's so difficult to say because at the same time, like it came out on a Wednesday is a really good seller too, but it's not a creator-owned series. It's an anthology type of thing. I mean, they all own their own stories and things like that, but it's not like that just consistent narrative. So I feel always weird saying like it came out on a Wednesday is kind of just as high selling as Blood Realm. But in terms of if I just look at the piece of paper and say what sells best, it's always like a neck and neck between it came out on a Wednesday and Blood Realm.
Gotcha.
But there's a couple others that are very close behind. Yeah, they're really great. It's a good way to just test out a bunch of different stories and even learn about new creators too.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got my feet wet in comics, was doing anthologies, because my high school buddies and I were big heavy metal fans, the magazine, and then we wanted to emulate them, but we were also very influenced by Cracked and Mad. So we came up with a book called Overload, which was called the Fantasy Humor Magazine. And when I saw it came out on a Wednesday as part of my my Alterna sampler pack, I said, this is awesome, because this is these short stories with different art. There's always something for everyone in a book like that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're keeping that alive, because I think that's cool. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start opening this.
All right, let's see.
And you got a lot of newspaper here. So
watch, it's all destroyed
on the chair. Yeah, I did get a little crimp in the side corner, but I think everything is intact. I didn't know I would need another knife within the outer package, but this is the thing here. If you want, Pete, as I open these, if you want to give maybe a little elevator pitch, I mean, because some of these titles I don't know much about other than what I got in my sampler pack. So that's really why I wanted to get your campaign, because it just looked like it offered basically catching up on much of your popular titles. So can you give us just kind of a short and sweet pitch as I show people what I'm getting here? So the top book, I mean, this is really heavy. How many books are coming in this campaign?
So you got the fully loaded collector case, so it's over 50. I forget the exact number, but it's over 50 because you get a bunch of blank variants and you get a bunch of the reprints too.
Okay. So speaking of Blood Realm, we have Robert Geronimo's Blood Realm here. And Robert was kind enough to do me a barter. I sent him X-Farce, and then he sent me back issues of Blood Realm. So I probably have duplicates of this, which I'll probably share. But I love the fact that you do this book and it's just this stark black and white and red design. Is that your idea or Robert's?
Well, Robert had those covers the way that they were, but then the interiors were black and white. So I asked him, I said, is there a way that you can kind of tie it all together and make it, because I was like, as far as printing goes, it's not that much difference in terms of cost. Newsprint cost for color or black and white, it's negligible. So I was like, if you could kind of tie it all in and work that red into the interior too, that would be great. So then he started doing that. But, that was another thing too, where I think he's okay with me giving him that extra project to do there, but who knows? We'll find out later on in the Rob Geronimo tell-all.
You pack things really well. I know you've done videos about just the way that you box things and the shipping label. We took you up on, you tell everybody, get a Dymo label writer if you're going to be a fulfiller. And we got one, and it's been a huge lifesaver. We've had an eBay business for a long time, but we've never had the need to really have one of those printers. We would just print on it 8.5 by 11 sheet and then cut out the label and tape it. But the Dymo is like a lifesaver.
Yeah, it saves tremendous time, but then it also actually saves money with printing paper and ink. So it pays for itself after easily one campaign.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through these on what I got. So Blood Realm, how many issues am I getting with your...
You're going to be getting 6 issues. And the thing with Blood Realm, too, is that it was at first volumized, the series. So it was 1 through 3, then volume 2, 1 through 3, volume 3, 1 through 3. And that was mostly because with the whole Diamond scenario, we had to get back to doing number ones as much as we could anyway. So the story arcs kind of fit with these 3 issues at a time. But with this reprint, and this isn't the first time they've been reprinted, but with this specific reprint, we've actually numbered them 1 through 6 at this point. And then when we go back to print with volume 3, 1 to 3, we're going to have it at 7, 8, 9. So this way it's a sequential numbering and serialize the whole thing. I wish we could have done that from the beginning, but again, we kind of were trying to find ways to survive in distribution because for some reason, the higher a number got, the more intimidated everyone got. Which made no sense to me as a comic reader my whole life. I got into comics. It was like issue 140 or whatever the heck it was. I didn't, and there's so many issues I just picked up along the way that were just, oh, whatever. Who cares? Issue 200, issue 300, whatever. I love the fact that they had that. I'd love to see Alterna one day get to issue 100. Man, oh man, that'd be insane. It just, to me, if a new reader comes along, they think, wow, look at how many more things I have to catch up with and hunt down. That's part of the fun.
Exactly. How do people differentiate what printing they have of your books? Do you have I asked Keith Gleason, and I think he said it had something to do with your, I don't know, maybe up here, or do you have a different color? Or
the Alterna logo in the corner in the barcode box, and well, not the barcode box, the corner box up top is different. So if it's any color other than gold, silver, bronze, it's a first printing. So it could be black, it could be red, it could be green. But if it's like that actual Roger #1, that's a second printing. So the barcode, the corner box there with the Alterna logo is a gold.
Okay, gotcha. Give me a quick elevator pitch on Actual Roger.
Actual Roger is it's a fun story about this kid that gets cosmic powers one day, but his cosmic powers are pretty pathetic. He can only really hover above the ground like 2 feet. But once the superhero corporation gets a whiff of the fact that he has these powers, they kind of almost kidnap him in a way and set him up as a sidekick for this jerk of a superhero called Magnanimo, who doesn't really want him as a sidekick. He doesn't even think he needs any sidekick at all. So they have a really weird relationship where they grow on each other over time, but it's just pretty hilarious seeing how that whole thing unfolds. And the story is actually written, illustrated by Hank Tucker, who is the director of the Tick animated series, producer too, and he also was a storyboard artist on a lot of different animated shows back in the day, DuckTales, G.I. Joe, all that kind of stuff.
I look at this and I think I might have gotten Actual Roger as a backup story in my first sampler with you. And I looked at it and I thought it looked a lot like Megaton Man, like Don Simpson. I don't know if you remember that series.
Yep.
So
got that vibe, definitely.
So that's a humorous story, it seems like. So Gods and Gears is one that I hear a lot of people talking about. And
that's the Ryan Wynn, Dean Kotz series. That's a lot of fun too. That's like a fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi also, and some superhero elements too. Basically, Jimmy Shotgun, he goes back in time. There's a racing mishap that happens in the beginning, and he goes back in time through like this portal, and he gets sucked into what he thinks at first is another world, but realizes it's I don't know if this is even on Earth, honestly. It doesn't all look like Earth. There's no way it could be on Earth. There's talking gorillas. So it's a different universe, a different planet, but he does go back through time and is trying to figure out a way to get back home. But he meets this kid, Eli, who he kind of dabbles in magic and a lot of different spells and potions and all kinds of stuff. And they kind of have adventures throughout this book. But the whole point with this series is I think at the core of it is their friendship and the fact that they're another couple of people that they don't really see eye to eye on everything. They're a little bit different in age, but they do have this camaraderie, and they've been through some pretty harrowing events that have formed these bonds of friendship. So as the series goes on, and I'm glad to say that it's an ongoing, continuing series now. Ryan's got Hammerella up right now, which is a spin-off of it's within the same universe, but it's a spin-off of Gods and Gears, and Hammerella will make an appearance eventually in the Gods and Gears main series. But it's just this big, huge, open world, anything's possible kind of story. It's just a lot of fun.
Awesome, buddy. So I know your own title, The Chair, got made into a movie. Have you had anybody else come to you for, looking at possibly optioning or doing anything in a film or TV show based on any of your books?
Yeah, we've had a couple people here and there over the years come to us for optioning and whatever. I don't know if a lot of it has worked out. One of the ones right now that's still currently being, I think it's actually in development, is Trespasser. Trespasser got optioned by one of the co-writers of the Wonder Woman movie, not the sequel, but the first one. And so they're looking towards developing it either as something that's like a mini series on like an HBO or a Showtime, or as a film. So I don't know what they want to do with it, but Alterna's creator owned, so I'm kind of not involved with any of that in any way, shape, or form. I hope it works out for them, just cause. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now in terms of optioning movies, shows, that kind of a thing.
Okay. Speaking of the all ages, here's Mr. Crypt. And did you grow up reading any kind of like, Richie Rich Harvey stuff, or do you have kids that like these books? Or
not really. I didn't ever really read any Archie stuff. I always thought Archie looked pretty lame. And I'm apologies to anyone that really loves Archie. I just thought it looked lame. I don't know if it is lame. I didn't really gravitate towards that, but I did like a lot of different animated shows. I loved Peanuts, and I loved a lot of different like Garfield, a lot of comic strips and stuff like that. I was a big fan of Spider-Ham when I was a kid.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So I
Peter
liked a lot
Porker,
of, yeah. I loved a lot of that kind of stuff, and anything that's all ages that comes my way that has a little bit of that, not double entendre, but it could be enjoyed by adults, and there's jokes in there that would go over a kid's head. I like that kind of stuff for all ages, Muppets and that kind of stuff. The old Muppets, especially, they had a lot of that going on.
So Mr. Crypt is all ages, and then my dogs got into my studio.
Uh-oh.
I know, and I've got comics, and I don't want them to trample my brand new comics. I washed my hands, making sure I wouldn't get my.
Hopefully their bladders are empty. Did you potty train them on newsprint? Might be bringing up memories.
Yeah, that's not a good thing, is it? I do have a bunch of yours. I'm gonna have to put these up a little bit higher, make sure they don't get in there. So, of course, Mighty Mascots. That's kind of how I got into meeting Keith, is just being a fanboy over Mighty Mascots. I love this series. You must have. Did Keith send you like the earlier incarnations of it, and then you said let's go ahead and make this a
he had showed me, because Keith is relatively local to me. I first met him at his convention. We crossed paths through just being at shows, and then he had his own convention, Plastic City Comic-Con. And so I first saw Mighty Mascots when Frankie B. Washington was involved. And Frankie was the character designer for Mighty Mascots, but Keith didn't know if they were going to move forward with a series or how it was going to go. And I thought Frankie's art was really great, but at the same time, I thought it's not really in the same vein of what I think this book could be. I love Ian's art. I love the fact that he's got that dynamic kind of. He's got very drawable art. I really felt that Frankie, even though I love his stuff, something more like Legends of Log, which he actually has had art in, is way more within his wheelhouse in terms of like these big epic like fantasy type stories with these crazy larger than life characters. Mighty Mascots was a little more grounded, but also a little more towards like that superhero dynamicism. And I think Ian does a great job with that. And Anton Bandy too. He does a great job with the colors on the book. But Keith has kept it really fun. The next 3 issues, you said you got those 2, right? I think. The
Yeah,
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, they're still he's fulfilling those. I don't have mine yet, but he kind of sent me the perks ahead of time, which was a nice thing. So I had all the wax pack and buttons and all that stuff a couple months ago. So my wife apologizes for the dogs.
Yeah.
Say hi to Lovey for me. Does Lovey come into your studio, or is she
very rarely? Yeah. Very rarely. So, maybe like less than 5 times ever.
You have a lot of fans of Mighty Mascots. I mean, Kenneth likes it, and so does Eric McIntyre. Also, The Legend of Log. That was visually appealing to me out of the bundle that I got. That I love the artwork on that book too.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. I love that Razmaz says Frankie got gate kept. I've known Frankie longer than I've known anyone at Alterna. I've known Frankie right when Alterna first got started, when it wasn't even a publishing company yet. It's so funny.
He's a cool dude. I got to meet him on your auction, and I didn't know we shared a love of Gaiju and Ultraman, and he does those things so cool. So Pete, the next one, you have a crossover, Mr. Crip and Baron Rat. So that's a great idea. Is it the same creative team or not?
Yeah, the same creative team. It's funny too, because when we went back to print with these, I asked Troy, who's the creator of the series, I was like, do you want to just stick it with Mr. Crypt and that's it? Just keep on numbering them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc. And he's like, no, I just want to leave it as the miniseries format. The first one is just Mr. Crypt, even though he meets Baron Rat in the first issue. He wanted to leave it that it's just Mr. Crypt. They're all standalone issues too. And then the next 3 issues is Mr. Crypt and Baron Rat. And now the next 3 that they're working on that are very close to finished actually is Mr. Crypt and Friends. So he's met some more friends in the Mr. Crypt and Baron Rat series. And the next 3 issue miniseries will be focusing on that. But instead of just having it Mr. Crypt and go throughout, I was like, okay. But again, that's Alterna. We're creator owned. Whatever the creator envisions, I want to help make it possible for them.
Gotcha. And I just want to commend you, Pete. The feel of this book. I mean, I just feel like I'm reading like 80s Marvel, and it smells it smells just like I remember. No one really does newsprint anymore.
Yeah, some of the books that I have from 2017 when they first came out, they have that aged newsprint smell already. So it's nice to see that they're eventually going to have that nice bouquet of newsprint.
So boy, there's just going to be tons and hours of reading pleasure here, guys. I've only cracked like the very first bag of stuff. Quickly, tell me about Red Koi, which also looks like an awesome action series.
Yeah, Red Koi's a pretty intense series from Tyler Wentland. He's also got colors by Nick Welch, and Wes Loker letters like I think 80% of everything at Alterna. He's another letterer that's on the book here. But Red Koi is basically about this samurai who she's kind of distanced herself from her family. Her family has a brutal, bloody history, especially her father. And she comes back to her ancestral home after her father has died to kind of reclaim everything, and discovers all these ridiculous amounts of insanity, these secrets, these dark monsters and beasts. It's a very strange and interesting world because it's not really Earth. It's kind of like, to me, it's got a feel that's kind of close to like Thundercats, where it feels like there's all these like fantastical anthropomorphic creatures and animals and all these other things, but the stories are very grounded still, and he's doing a great job now with building upon the series too. It's going to be an ongoing now. Issue 3 is out, issue 4 is going to be out soon, and he's incorporating all kinds of different characters too from across the world and across time. So not only did you have a samurai with Red Koi obviously, but you also have we've got Vikings coming along. There's going to be different characters from the Middle East in terms of their culture and heritage and everything else, all the myths from them. Tyler's very big on history and myths, and he's incorporating all these different kinds of things, these different characters that all exist in the same kind of scope and in the same time that never would have existed together really. if it was just a historical type of story. It's all over the place in terms of this nice fantasy feel, and it's got a lot of darker elements, a lot of action to it as well. And Tyler's getting better and better as it goes on. Nick as well. Nick's colors are through the roof.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. Has kind of a watercolor-ish palette to it. Really nice, man. So this is 2 issues so far of Red Koi?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
there's 3 technically out right now, but you have the 2 issues there.
Gotcha. Tinseltown.
Tinseltown's
Is
a
that
lot
Hollywood?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun, but it's also kind of dark, because it's all about like the greedy, corrupt underbelly of early Hollywood. The story takes place in 1915, and the main character here, Abigail Moore, she wants to be a cop. She wants to be working as an actual police officer in Hollywood, in Tinseltown. And what she finds is that they just have like this weird faux kind of BS police department that's more about like show and illusion, and it's show business extended into the police. But she wants to take her job seriously. So the whole first arc, because there's a second arc that's out now, the whole first arc is about her kind of trying to really prove herself as a police officer, and for people to take her seriously and for her to do a really good job too in the process. But of course, she finds out that there's a lot of really just seedy, crazy crap going on in Tinseltown, in Hollywood. Not like anything today. Today, Hollywood is very nice. There's no corruption whatsoever. Everybody is just as sweet as can be.
That's awesome, man. That's great. I love how eclectic your tastes are, because back when I was doing comics in the 90s, we did parodies, but we also had Entity Comics and even an offshoot of that called Express Press. So we did a lot of, when I look at your line, it's like if I was going to be doing comics again, I would be diverse like you. And you kind of do a bunch of different things: sci-fi, action, fantasy, superheroes, kid stuff. And I just commend you on keeping things interesting. I can't predict what Pete is going to publish.
Right? Yeah, you hear that, comic industry? Alterna is diverse. Spoken by not me, a 50% Asian man, but a 100% Asian man.
Yeah, man.
A secret Asian man.
Secret Asian man. Okay, so 4 issues of Tinseltown is what you gave me, which looks great. And then the 12?
Yeah, I like calling it the XII just so people can actually look it up properly, because people all the time to look up the 12 and then they can't find it at all. But if they look up the X and then the letters II, they can find it. And not to say that you said anything wrong. That's correct. Some people have called it the 7. That's incorrect. It's the XII. But you could, in conversation, call it the 12. Now, this is a post-apocalyptic story. This is a world very similar to ours. Currently, looks a lot like 2020, 2021. There's a lot of just decimation across the board. People are trying to survive. There's hard times. There's people that have set up a sanctuary city. But the thing is that this weird, marauder, mysterious band called the XII, they're a bunch of ruthless killers, allegedly. This is the legend. And they guard the dead roads. And the dead roads is what will take you to this sanctuary city. The sanctuary city, though, is actually Chicago. It's just this is post-apocalyptic Chicago. So it's all about this one family, and they're kind of making their way to this sanctuary city and all the different things that happen to them along the way. Now, the XII also has a second volume, which follows another family as they're also trying to make their way towards the sanctuary city.
Gotcha. Very cool, man. So let's see here. I want to be respectful of your time, Pete, because I know you said you had another appointment you need to get to. So I want to make sure that
I can. Yeah,
cool.
we can do till we can do another 10 to 13 minutes. I got till 4:15.
Okay, bud. Thank you. So another XI 12 or
yep.
And then here's one of your variants with the sketch covers.
Yeah, it came out in Wednesday number 0, only available through this campaign. So The only other way that you'll be able to get one is eventually through the different people that were involved with the book. So I'll have some copies. Ski Saharsky will have a couple copies. He's the Legends of Log creator. Ryan Wynn will have a couple copies, and so will Tyler Wentland. But other than that, it's not going to be available on Alterna Access. It's not going to be available anywhere else. It was only 1,000 made, and it's a campaign exclusive. And if you want to get those copies eventually from those people that I just said, you can do so after everything is shipped to backers, because I want to make sure all the backers get their stuff first before all the other stuff starts getting live everywhere else.
Okay, so then this big pack in here, that's all the white covers. That would be.
So those are all blank
all
variants. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Still got newsprint interiors, still comic books. It's just they have these nice cardstock covers, so you can either commission someone to draw on them or you can draw on them yourself.
Yeah, I like the stock, man. It's very. It lends itself. I could tell it would be very. It would do well with pencils or inks.
Yeah, people are really enjoying drawing on them. I'm glad that they did them right.
So what do I get here? I'm not going to unfold this because I want to be respectful of time. But this looks like a poster.
Yeah, it's a fold-out poster. I've signed it. You've also got a sticker.
Really?
You've
Nice.
got a sketch card in there that you could draw on or have someone else draw on. You've got an issue checklist as well. And then there should be I don't know if it's in that bag. I don't think it is. But there should also be a pin and a magnet for you, too.
Oh, okay, cool.
And also the collector case is probably in there as well. I didn't see you pull that out.
Yeah, that's.
And the
I see that.
inserts.
I see that here, and here's another nicely wrapped package with log on the front. I have this issue already, but this artwork style.
You think
I'm pretty
you do,
sure,
but you don't. You don't.
Oh.
See, what it is that you have the one shot. You have the one shot.
Oh,
So
that's
you
right.
kind of almost have a collectible version. We inadvertently made a collector's item. This is actually the reprint that has a number 1 now on it. So it's been rebranded as the number 1. But anybody that has the one shot, don't go willy-nilly saying, I already got the issue, let me get rid of it. No. Hold on to it. Hold on to it, because it's a different branding on the cover.
So Pete, what's the difference between Alterna Access and Alterna Comics?
Alterna Access is just our store. That's all it is.
Okay. And so log, do you have a second issue coming?
Yes, we do. We have a second issue out right now, and a third issue is going to print very soon.
Okay. Also black and white, or
Yep, black and white too.
Yeah, this book looks great in black and white. I think it doesn't need color.
It's got that really fun fantasy sword and sorcery vibe, kind of like a Masters of the Universe sort of vibe to it too, but focusing on obviously the log characters and the log universe.
Gotcha, buddy. Exilium, is that correct? Is that Exilium?
I've been told it's Exilium, so we'll go with that.
Okay. And boy, it's just so
it's never ending.
Yeah, I mean, this is yours.
That's
awesome,
mine,
man.
yeah.
Oh, you signed it.
I signed the number 1. Yeah, everybody
Okay.
gets a signed number 1 that got the fully loaded collector case, or just that issue, just in general too.
It looks like you used a copper pen.
Yes, I did.
The Sharpie.
Yes.
Yeah, go back and watch Pete's channel. Subscribe to Pete's channel. He goes through an expose on all the best metallic pens. That was fun. Void Walker, another one I hear good buzz about.
That's a lot of fun too. Yep.
Baron Rat, which we've talked about, and then Trespasser was the one you said has some Hollywood interest, correct?
And that's a great story. It was a one shot. It was black and white, and then it ended, and it ends on such a. It's basically the first issue is what it is. It didn't change; it just got colored. And I read it, and I said, "You got to go from somewhere after this because it's such a crazy ending." So then Justin Ryan, he wrote 3 more issues, and I wish they would just keep making more of them, but he's got other things going on, and I think he might have told the story he wants to tell. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a really great book, and Christian Rossi does the art on it too. Christian does the art on Voidwalker as well.
Yeah, I think Keith mentioned to me that Christian did a really cool Mighty Mascots cover
right
for you guys, so I really like his artwork style. So, I mean, for $100, Pete, you just keep on bringing it. I mean, this is one of the best values of anything I purchased in the last year, and I've supported quite a few campaigns, but I really do think you have a great business strategy and making things affordable. And so this is the collector's case that has all the different slip.
Yeah, it's got all like
covers.
the side inserts, the front inserts, and this way, if you ever did want to buy any more collector cases, and you could purchase those on ALTERNA'S.com, you can actually, customize however you want, mix them up, whatever it may be, and make your own collector case, as opposed to us going to print with just like maybe one design and then that would be it. We decided it'd be better to have it so you guys can customize it however you'd like it.
Awesome, buddy. Well, I will definitely take this out very carefully and bag and board my comics. You said these hold about 15?
Yeah, about 15, 16 bagged and board comics. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, what else can I ask? Anything else you want to tell the fans? All right, what's your next crowdfunder? Can you tell us what that's going to be?
So our next crowdfunder, it's kind of funny because Alterna is actually going to be moving forward with pre-order campaigns on Indiegogo. We don't do pre-orders anymore on ALTERNA'S.com. Everything on that site is in stock, ready to ship. I don't want to have any more confusion, discombobulation, frustration for the readers that order in-stock items and pre-order items, and then they got to wait for everything because it's going to ship all at once. So this way, everything is in stock on ALTERNA'S.com. We're going to have pre-orders on Indiegogo moving forward. And you're going to see books on there with the cover prices, $2 or $3 or whatever it may be. And you might be thinking like, this is insane. What are you talking about? But it's because of the fact that they're pre-orders. You can add to cart. You can order them individually or you can order them all together. There's a $25 option we're going to have where you can get a collector case with a brand new collector case insert too, just for that specific campaign, along with all the new issues. So it's always going to be between 5 to 7 issues that we put out for those campaigns. These are going to be treated as pre-order campaigns, a low minimum goal, and because we're going to print them anyway. It's more just a place that you guys can get exclusives when you pre-order on Indiegogo instead of just ordering it off the site. And you're going to get a trading card that's exclusive to the campaign as well. Everyone that orders from the campaign is going to get that, no matter what you order. And then there's also going to be other things here and there available on the campaigns. But that's going to be our next one. And then we're going to be we'll keep on doing stuff like that. And then we'll also have event campaigns here and there as long as it permits anyway, like an Alternaween or maybe even a Because You Demanded It Too. Or, if we got to go back to print with other things at any point in time, we can do that kind of a thing. And that's what makes crowdfunding so great. We can't do this kind of a thing through distribution. They wouldn't be cool with it. Even when there were books that sold out and I said, can we offer the second printing? And they would actually tell us no. I see other publishers getting second printings through all the time. I'm like, why can't we solicit? They're like, you can offer it as a line item. I mean, I don't want to offer it as a line item, though. That just seems kind of defeating the purpose. I want people to know about this again, that it's sold out. It's going back to print. And it's just a frustrating system. I'm so glad that we're out of it. It's much better this way. I like dealing with the readers. I like the fact that the creators can do what they got to do. They can have their own creator exclusive campaigns too. Like right now, Clinton has Downcast 3. Ryan has Hammerella. Even Rob Geronimo just had ended Wirehead. These are all books that are eventually going to be through Alterna, but the creator editions are exclusive first through crowdfunding. So the creators put it out there. It's their big movie premiere event. And then later on, we'll republish it down the line, sometimes maybe even a year after the books have already made it into the hands of backers. And then we'll have it out there with new covers. They'll be on newsprint. They'll be affordable. More readers will get to it. And then those readers will discover these creators, like their books, go to their crowdfunding, et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of works in this nice system where they pick up new readers from Alterna. Those readers become crowdfunding backers. The crowdfunding backers enable the new book to be made. The new book is made, gets put up by Alterna, so on and so forth. No other publisher is doing it like that. That's
pretty smart. I have to say, I heard Clint talking about that. Someone asked me, when are you going to buy Diamond? I think he's just joking, but you never know.
I wouldn't want that headache. No, thank you.
Oh man. Pete, anything else you want to tell the fans before we sign off? I was going to say, I found a picture of you, the background picture. You're standing up. You're pretty tall. You look taller than I never
I'm
seen you
not
stand
that
up.
tall. I'm only like 5'9", 5'9.5", maybe 5'10", depending on the shoes I'm wearing. I'm not that tall.
Okay. You look tall right here. Like
I look tall there though. Yeah,
you do, man. So,
it's the angle.
hey, what do your parents think of your career? Are they still around?
They've disowned me. You know, they're like, I don't want to tell people that my kid does comics. I said, don't tell them that I make comics. Tell them that I work with the mentally ill.
That's so funny. Seriously, they're not really that supportive, or you?
No,
just giving...
well, my dad's always been just like, yeah, whatever. You know, that's kind of his whole philosophy, whatever.
Yeah.
But my mom's she's kind of been into it. My dad liked comics when he was a kid. He likes a lot of like the superheroes and things like that, you know. But as far as like making my own things, he's one of those guys that, like, unless some other company is making it, you know, I'm sure he'd probably get a kick out of everyone else's books. But mine, he's like, yeah, whatever. You know, you're just futzing around. What are you doing? Get a real job. You know, but like my mom is like, oh, you know, she's pretty into it. She thinks it's cool. But either way, though, I've long grown past the point of needing parental approval for anything in my life. You know, I'm like a superhero. I pretend as if they've died in the alley, and I'm just gonna go kick ass and you know, chew bubble gum.
Pete, you've been a gem. Thank you again for being here and not going into like a full blown Hulk Savage SIMETI. I like the calmer one.
Well, you haven't pissed me off, Don. You know, and like I said, I've made amends with the fact that you're going to do these open mic shows. You know, I'm calming down from that. But you know, should you get a little bit, you know, ridiculous there, I'll have to come back.
All right, I'll try to keep
talking.
I'll try to keep it above board, my friend. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'm sure I'll see you on your streams throughout the week. You doing open mic Monday on Monday?
Yeah. Man, will I do one? Yeah, I should be able to do one this Monday. I'm thinking how much I got to get done. I should be able to have one at night again. Yeah, 9:00
Okay.
Eastern.
Great. Peter, thank you, my friend. Thank you, everyone in the chat. I had a good time. My wife has been texting me saying I should have been done about 15 minutes ago. So I got to go make lunch because it's time to eat. But I have to ask you, what powers Pete SIMETI? What do you eat like on a regular? What's your go-to food?
Probably I'm always having coffee, which is probably not that great for me. And I'm always having, as far as actually eating food goes, it's either I'm eating pizza, pasta, salmon, tilapia.
Carbs, yeah.
You know, a lot of like high energy, good protein, lean protein type stuff, and you know, lots of vegetables and whatnot. Get your fruits and your vegetables in you, yeah. And eat your vitamins and say your prayers. Oh yeah, brother.
Do you eat a lot of rice? Or probably not.
Not as much as I used to, and when I do nowadays, it's usually brown rice. But you know, if I'm having like Chinese or Japanese or whatever, I gotta eat rice. You know, it's just that's how it is.
Gotcha, buddy. I hear you. Well, Pete, thank you again, and I hope you have a great weekend. And thanks for spending time with us, folks. Please go out and support Pete. Follow him on Twitter. Please visit Alterna Comics or Alterna Access to get all the cool stuff that we talked about. He's got tons of merchandise. I'm a big supporter, and again, Pete, you are a super good dude, and I can't believe you have like almost 80,000 followers on Twitter. How did that happen?
I can't believe it either. I don't know. I think I followed a lot of people, and they were foolish enough to follow me back.
I was impressed. I saw you retweeted our show, and I went to look at your webpage, and I went, "Holy smokes!" To my wife, Pete's got a lot of Twitter followers.
Yeah. So, when I say something clever or something particularly stupid that maybe upsets people, you know, I realize I got a lot of followers. Every other point in time, it's a ghost town, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, my friend. Well, thank you, Pete. You have a great day.
All right, man. You too. Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you guys too.
So that's our friend Pete. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It was a fun Saturday afternoon. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Kenneth, thank you for stopping in. Herrenberg for the kind moderation. Razmaz, thank you for your comments. And I'm sorry, Lewis, I didn't get a chance to ask that question, but I'm sure you could hit Pete up on Twitter and ask him about that if you like. And yeah, Razmaz, maybe he is wearing high heels. I'm not sure. We'll have to ask him about that. Anyways, guys, I had a great time. Yeah, and Eric says time for a nap. That's probably in about a couple hours. I'm going to take a nap. So thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you next time. I do have a coffee and comic show coming up on Wednesday. I'm going to be talking to a guy named Ben who creates Rokan, and also some guys from across the pond. The CG Bargain Bin boys are coming out with Twisted Fairy Tales. So they're going to be on my show. That's 9 a.m. Pacific, and that's noon Eastern time this Wednesday. So until next time, we'll take care. Keep smiling.